Hi, this is Sherry Rice Smith of EFT for Christians. Before we begin, I want to remind you that EFT is not a substitute for sound medical or psychological advice. So if you have any of those types of issues, please do call your own personal physician. What I want to discuss tonight is to go on of why we can use EFT to help us make some decisions as to how we want to proceed this autumn. It's now July of 2020, but this coming fall, we've got about another month or a month and a half before school starts. So how do we want to proceed in getting back to work, getting the kids back to school, or maybe not doing that? And there's a lot of indecisiveness around that because school boards haven't figured out what they want to do yet. And as it approaches, it's do you buy school clothes? Do you not buy school clothes? What are we going to do? So EFT is a good tool to deal with this. And I'll explain some of those reasons a little bit later in the video. Before we start, I want to just remind us that in Isaiah chapter 41, verse 13, God says, I am the Lord your God. Don't be afraid. I will help you. We know that God is always with us. Jesus promised us that. And so he can help us with every single decision that we have to make. So what I want you to try, if you're having, this is your issue, and you're really having a lot of indecision around what the heck you're going to do, I want you to take a sheet of paper, sit down, write down all of the positives and the negatives about going back to work, sending the kids back to school. I don't know if there's other things going on. I think those are the two probably big ones right at this moment. And what I want you to do then in the negative column, everything that you have written down that's objectionable to the thought of sending the kids back to school. Maybe you want to make a list of keeping the kids home and homeschooling. What's the negatives about doing that? So take all of the column with all of the negatives in them. I want you one by one to give them a suds of 0 to 10, 0 again being you have no thoughts or feelings around that, 10 being it's really annoying. Assign an emotion to those negative ones. If you can find somewhere in your body where you feel that emotion, write that down too. And then one by one, I want you to tap every one of those entries. Take them one at a time and tap them as close to a 0 or to a 0. Now, that could look like something like this, and I'm not going to actually do the tapping, although I guess I could. Even though I have, and you insert your feeling, and I feel it in my body part, around the thought, and there's where you insert your thought. I'm scared to send the kids back to school because they may catch COVID. I'm scared to not send the kids back to school because they're not getting I'm not doing as good a job as I'd like with homeschooling. I fear I have to go back to work, and what happens if the kids are home? And you can have any different combination of that you want, and then obviously do your acceptance statement. I deeply and completely accept myself is the standard. What I tend to say is I deeply and completely accept myself because God deeply and completely accepts and loves me just the way I am. So then you would just tap your spots with the emotion. So fear, anxiety. You may at this point with COVID skip the lip, the upper lip under the nose if you choose. So you would go directly from here to the chin, unless you really, washed your hands prior to, because obviously the nose is where you can catch COVID. So top of your head, eyebrow, side of the eye, under the eye, do your chin point, do the collarbone, and then under your arm. And it's acceptable to skip that because you're hitting the rest of them. If you've washed your hands really well, go ahead and use the under the nose. Do each of them one at a time, and when the suds drops then as close to 0 as you can get it, hopefully 0, absolutely keep tapping if it's above a 2, and then go on to the next objection you have or thought or feeling around this whole COVID episode that's going on, the pandemic. So how does this help? Tapping drops our cortisol and our adrenaline level so that we put the blood back into our prefrontal cortex, which is right behind where my hand is. And that's, once you tap 70% of the blood that has drained out of your prefrontal cortex and gone into your larger muscles, which are your upper arms and upper legs, because when you're concerned, have anxiety or anxiousness, fear, the mind thinks that you're in fight or flight. It thinks that you have a big bad boogeyman that you have to run away from, or some awful giant that you have to fight to survive. It then puts the blood back here in your brain where it belongs, and then you can now calmly think about all the possible implications of your decision, and you will be able to think through all of the possibilities. And at that point, God can actually give you some really novel ideas around how you could solve this problem. What are the various and sundry different solutions? What do we have to do here, and how can we get it done? So try the tapping. Again, the top of your head, after you do the setup statement with the side of your hand, the top of your head, your eyebrow, side of eye, under eye, go ahead and skip under your nose, do your chin point, do the collarbone, and then do under your arm. So think about, again, make your list, think about all of the stuff that you have on your plate right now, all of the things that you know you have to make decisions pretty soon about. Do you pay tuition? Do you not pay tuition? Do you pay the dorm fees? Do you not pay the dorm fees? Do you send your kid away? Do you try to figure out how to get him home closer to a college here? And God will help you do that. In John chapter 14 to verse 27, Jesus tells us that he is leaving us with his gift of peace. And that's what tapping brings to us. It brings that peace, that because you've calmed down your body and your mind, and that now God can talk to you and help you with all of these problems and give you some solutions. And 2 Timothy 2:7 talks about the Lord gives us understanding in all things. He's not just talking about theological things. He's talking all things. So let the Holy Spirit guide you in these decisions. Use tapping to calm yourself down so that you can hear his different thoughts, his different ideas, and all the different possibilities that he can present that can help you move forward during this pandemic. All right, God bless you. Come join us on EFT for Christians Facebook page. My website is eftforchristians.com, and come talk to us. You can ask questions through the website, and you can also ask some questions on the Facebook page if that has something you want. We're going to launch a new tapping program fairly quick. Kathy Riling and I, it should be out, I would hope, within the next couple of weeks, and I will announce that at some time. All right, God bless you all, and I hope God really leads us through this crazy time in history, because it is kind of pretty overwhelming sometimes. All right, good night. Amen.